All right, welcome to episode 42 of Life is Horror. It's been a while, but I'm back to talk about some new releases, three new releases in the last couple of weeks that all have to do with the supernatural and religion and shit like that. We got the First Omen, Late Night with the Devil, and Immaculate. Two of them independent horror movies, one of them part of the major franchise, more of a Hollywood major release film. And so, yeah, and also, I'm going to rank the Omen franchise, worst to best, all six of them. Haven't done that. Haven't even reviewed these movies on my channel yet, the other five. But I did talk about the first three Omens on my channel back when I was going through the 70s and 80s, doing the top 10s of every year. So you've heard me talk about those movies a little bit before, but I've never done official reviews. So this will be my chance to review them and rank them. And also, besides that, I guess talk about some horror news before we jump into these reviews and rankings. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've recorded, so there's been a lot of shit that's been announced in the past month. But the only things I want to talk about right now and announce is they announced that Ready or Not 2 is officially in the works and Samara Weaving will be returning as the bride, supposedly. I don't understand how, like, why it's necessary. I love Ready or Not, don't get me wrong, but I did not expect a sequel to a movie that seemed pretty conclusive. Like, that story was wrapped up at the end, ended beautifully. Where could they possibly go? Like, is she gonna marry some other like Satan worshipping family that plays fucked up games? Like what's the next game gonna be? This one was hide and seek. Is she gonna be playing checkers in the next one? Like, like, I don't understand where they're gonna go with this. If it's gonna be the same family, like, but they all blew up. Spoiler. But assuming you've seen it, it's almost 5 years old now. But yeah, I mean that shocked me to see that they're making a sequel to that 5 years later now. But hey, I'll watch it because I love part one and I love Samara, however you pronounce it, and also a new Chucky. Hey, Chucky background right now. How appropriate. A new Chucky movie. Don Mancini, creator of the franchise, has announced that a new movie is in the works, not just a new season, because the TV show is still going. They're currently like halfway through season 3. I'm sure that's still going to keep going. I'm not sure if they've greenlit season 4 yet, but he said a new movie is in the works, and I think it's supposed to like keep building off of the series. So I guess to watch the new movie, if it does come out, you'll have to watch all these seasons to know what the hell is going on. I haven't seen season 3 yet. I just finished season 2. Gotta say, not a fan. Not a fan of season 2. I thought season 1 was better. But I'm glad that we're getting movies now because that's what I've always preferred. I like watching movies, not series. I'm not a series person. The only reason why I'm watching the Chucky series is because it's Chucky. It's my favorite franchise. So any other series, the amount of TV series I've ever watched, I can count on one hand. Like I just don't watch series. I'm a movie person. I like to just get in. 90 minutes later, I'm done. Not like devote like an entire weekend to like a whole fucking season or something. Like I don't like spending that much time on one story. Like I just want to get in and out. Maybe it's ADD. I don't know, but I prefer movies over seasons upon seasons of some show. I don't know. It's not my thing. But yeah, so I'm glad we're getting a movie now instead of another season of Chucky. Just make it a movie. Put Chucky back on the big screen where he belongs. So yeah, I'm glad to hear about that. And also, Scream 7, blah, blah, blah. If you listen to this channel enough, I don't give a fuck about the Scream franchise. I'm just so over it. And I'm just scrolling through Twitter laughing at all these morons of both sides, really, just because it's just funny to watch these Scream fans fight each other. There's like a civil war going on right now with Scream fans, and it's funny to me as someone who's on the outside. Like, you're all stupid. Like, you got all these people on the left, like, screaming like they're pro Melissa, and all these people who are like, we're the true fans, and fuck you, new people. Like, it's just funny seeing them yell at each other on Twitter. It's just but yeah, Scream 7, it's been announced that Nev Campbell's returning. And then that, made this camp really happy. And this camp was like, how dare she? And again, funny. You guys were overreacting and stupid. Shut up. It's like, just be thankful you're getting another fucking movie. Like, 2 years later, I'm a Final Destination fanatic. I love that franchise almost as much as Chucky. I've had to wait 14 fucking years now for another movie to get announced. You're getting one now like every year or two. So shut up. You're getting another Scream when you don't deserve one. I don't see where they're gonna go. Like how many fucking like with Final Destination it makes sense. It's a perfect story that you can just keep doing again and again because death is everywhere. It can attack whoever. With Scream, it's like you keep bringing back the same people, and it's like how many, like what are the odds? It's like Die Hard. It's like what are the odds that McClane is gonna keep getting into these situations? And it's like what are the odds that Nev Campbell is gonna have this many psychopaths in her life? It's ridiculous. Who's gonna go after her now? So yeah, they confirmed Nev Campbell's coming back. I guess she's got another psychopath relative or someone she pissed off is gonna come after her. And Kevin Williamson is directing it, the writer of the original 4 movies, or technically not 3, but sort of. I don't know. He didn't get a screenplay credit for that, but I think he got the story credit, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever. He created the franchise. Now he's directing it. And the only movie that I believe he's ever directed before was like some comedy or something. Mrs. Tingle or whatever the fuck it was called, I forget, from the 90s. Wasn't a horror movie. I don't think he's directed since. So that doesn't really like make me go like, "Oh, that's great news." And that doesn't make me more excited for this movie knowing that he's directing because like he hasn't really shown how great of a director he is. I mean, I haven't seen that movie, but I haven't heard great things about it. Like, I mean, it wasn't a horror movie, so I don't know. I mean, that doesn't really excite me, but I'm sure it excites the Scream fans, some of them. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Anything else? I mean, yeah, there's been a lot announced about Final Destination, but I want to save all that for its own video because I got a lot to say about Final Destination Bloodlines. So I'll save that for its like own separate video. It won't be a full like episode like this. It won't be attached with reviews and rankings. I just want to do a solo video on Final Destination Bloodlines eventually and talk about that. So yeah, there we go. That's all I gotta say about news and whatnot. So let's just jump into these reviews, shall we? Let's get to that. All right, let's do our first of 3 reviews, and that is Late Night with the Devil. Now, this movie is written and directed by Australian the brothers or something. Just Colin, Karen, Carney, Colin and Cameron Cairney. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but they directed. What movie did they direct? I've seen both of their other movies. They did 100 Bloody Acres and Scare Campaign, which both I thought were all right. But this is their 3rd movie, and this is easily their best movie of the 3. This is my favorite that they've done so far, and this is about a live broadcast of a late night talk show in 1977 that goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. Sort of like that one movie that came out a couple of years ago called Cleansing Hour. It's a little similar to that in a way, but that one's more that was modern day and dealing with like a live stream possession on TV or on your laptops. This one's the 70s. And so yeah, this is like a found footage. They present it that way at the beginning. It's like what you're about to watch is the recently unearthed like tapes that were buried, and like this is the shocking events that took place that night live, and it's been gone since, but here it is, blah blah blah. And it's a single setting, possession horror movie. It's all at this TV studio set in the late 70s. It's the only like major criticism I have with this movie is the fact that it's set up as a found footage movie, because where it goes at the end, you start questioning like how is this even being filmed? And even like the way it's presented, it goes from like one format to another, and you enter like some supernatural like hallucination stuff, like, and you're like, well, how is this being filmed? It's almost like you're just watching a reenactment, not an actual recording that took place. Like they present this like it's the actual events. Like everything you're seeing is not made up. There's no effects being done here. Like you're watching real shit. But then where it goes towards the end, I'm like, well, how is this even possible? So I don't think it wasn't necessary to even present it as found footage. It just should have played out like a movie, and we just saw everything unfold the way it does. Just get rid of that very beginning with the narration. Just get rid of that. It's not necessary. Um, so I also feel like they missed an opportunity for more carnage at the end. When shit goes south and this possessed girl starts acting out. Things get a little violent. You get a few kills, practical effects that look pretty good. I mean, there were some visual effects here, and that one like glowing visual effect. Without saying too much, there's a scene where something's like glowing, and there's like all these white lights and whatever. Like that I thought that looked a little weird. It kind of took me out of the moment. It was a little jarring. It wasn't scary at all. But all the practical effects and the hallucinations, that kind of stuff was pretty cool. The possessed makeup on the girl and just the way she looked overall, even before she was possessed, they just made her look creepy. I don't know, something about her face. She looked creepy, and the lead actor I thought was awesome. I forget his name, but he's been in a lot of stuff recently. First time I saw him was in The Dark Knight. He's always usually playing small roles. He was recently in Suicide Squad as like the Polka Dot Man. He's the lead TV show host in this movie, and I thought he was phenomenal. Very convincing. He acted and talked like a TV show personality. And there were a few effective moments of tension. I thought the dialogue was well written, and I liked the skeptic character that they had in the show. And just never really a dull moment. I thought this movie flew by, was never bored. It was paced almost perfectly. But one thing I want to mention, and it's been well said on Twitter, like by a lot of people, how ridiculous it was, like how many opening logos there were for this movie. Because it's like financed by so many people, I guess, you got like, I swear, 10 logos. It was like over 2 minutes before you got into the movie. Usually in other movies, it's like 30 seconds to a minute. This was like over 2 minutes of like logo 1, logo 2, logo 3. And then when the movie actually started, it felt like you were watching another logo. You're like, Jesus Christ, another one. But then you're like, oh shit, no, this is actually the movie. It was kind of funny. Like you felt like it was a joke. Like someone was like punking you, like you were being pranked. Like, is this a joke? Is this real? Like, how many fucking logos are going to, like I swear there's like at least 9 or 10. It was ridiculous. So yeah, on rewatch, you're gonna be like fast forwarding through that because it's over 2 minutes of that shit. But yeah, I really recommend this movie. It's 4 out of 5 for me. Really enjoyed it. Great movie. So let's get to the second movie now. Immaculate, another independent film. Apparently, this has been in the works for like a decade, like since like 2014 is when Sydney, the lead actress here, like auditioned for this movie back then. But it just never came to fruition. Now here it is, 10 years later, and this is about Cecilia, an American nun of devout faith, embarks on a new journey in a remote convent in the picturesque Italian countryside. Cecilia's warm welcome quickly devolves into a nightmare as it becomes clear her new home harbors a sinister secret and unspeakable horrors. And this stars, of course, Sydney Sweeney, who a lot of people are like praising on Twitter lately as like the new hottest like scream queen. What other horror movies has she done? I don't think I've seen her in anything else, but I've been seeing her mentioned a lot on Twitter lately. A lot of people are falling in love with her, but yeah, I thought she was good. And it's not great, but she was a little robotic at first. Like she's not very like loud. Like there's not a lot of emotions from her. She's very quiet at the beginning, so it kind of comes off as a little like monotone or robotic at first. But then, like in the third act, is where she starts to shine when shit hits the fan. This movie to me felt like it was like Rosemary's Baby meets like The Nun. Predictable, kind of familiar plot. Nothing really original here, but it's just the way it's executed, especially the second half of the movie, that makes it worth the watch. There's not many scares. It's not really that creepy or anything, but they do throw in a few bloody kills in this movie, done practically. A lot of good practical effects. Mutilated faces, suicides, done well. Like the way they were shot, and they even throw in the theme music from an Italian film back in the 70s called The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. I reviewed that movie. And the way they used that song in this movie was perfect. I loved it. Like it put a smile on my face when I heard it. I was like, awesome. Such a great catchy theme. And the movie overall, very moody atmosphere. I love the setting. This this Italian convent, like very like got these like catacombs and just I really like the location. This ends the way I wanted Rosemary's Baby to end. That's all I'll say about that. And trying not to spoil too much, but let's just say like that's how this movie ended. I was like, yes, that's what I wanted from that movie. And the live burial scene at the beginning, it opens up with a girl being chased and kind of traditional horror movie opening. You got to start with something scary, someone dying, someone being buried alive. Thought that was done well. It was good. Um, the pacing was great, slow, good slow build of tension, throughout. Some people might see it as too much of a slow burn, but I thought it was I thought it was good. It was a nice slow build to that crazy climax. It wasn't just crazy throughout. It was like just slowly getting there in a good way where I was never bored. The foul mouth sister, the roommate, I think she was a roommate. She was my favorite character. But that's a spoiler. Won't say that. Her performance at the end, remarkable. Sydney Sweeney, or Sydney Sweeney, Sweeney Todd. Yeah, I don't want to say too much about the ending, but fucking loved it. It crushed it, loved it. And I wish more of the nuns. Yeah, I wish it again. I always just want more. I just feel like when people are getting killed at the end, won't say who or by who or what's, but just when you get a couple of kills at the end, I was like, oh, but what about these people? And like, I want to see these people die. And this, like, I always just want more. It's just I'm a gore hound. But yeah, you do get some gory, face smashing stuff. Um, and I'm reading this to make sure it's not a spoiler before I'm reading it in my head before I read it out loud. I question the main character's decision, like why she didn't fight back. Like this place is like keeping her against her will early on, like the second act of the movie. Like they start like keeping her there. She tries to leave at one point, but I'm like, why didn't you try this sooner? Like I don't know. It just felt like there's no way that there weren't numerous opportunities before that for her to escape. But whatever. So yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Worth the watch. Definitely better than most movies like this. I'm not a big fan of like these religious like nun movies. I'm not a fan of The Nun or The Nun 2, but this is definitely one of the better nun movies that came out recently. So number one, my third movie that in the last movie I'm reviewing is The First Omen. Now, this movie just came out today, and this is the Omen prequel. And it's when a young American woman is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, she encounters the darkness that causes her to question her own faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate. Sort of similar to the movie Immaculate. Um, but yeah, this movie, wow. So this is the first franchise film to come out this year, I believe. And hopefully the other franchise films that come out this year are a lot better than this because I was not a fan of this movie. It's not bad, it's just unnecessary. I just did not care for it. It was just very mediocre, blah, just like, okay, that happened. Like it's a prequel that fails to perfectly and accurately tie the story to the original. It left me with questions at the end like, well, how does like where were these people in part 1? Why like there's certain people that live that I feel like shouldn't be alive still and it's like and there's certain just inaccuracies like with the whole jackal thing. If you've seen the first movie, you know that the mom of Damien was like a jackal, and they dig up the jackal at the cemetery, and it's like the size of a dog, a small dog. But in this movie, they show you this giant creature in the basement. Spoiler, but you knew it was coming because it's a prequel. If you've seen the first movie, you know where this story is going from the beginning. You know that the mom of Damien is supposed to be, or the mom or father or whatever, is supposed to be a jackal because that's what they said in part one. But then you see this creature and it's like this big ass monster. So that doesn't fit what was already established. And the kills in this movie are rehashed from just copy from the first one, but just slightly tweaked. You know, just two. There's only like three kills in the movie. Two of them are just rehashes, and nothing. It's not like the little changes aren't done for the better. It's not like they did it better in this one. And like if you've seen enough movies, the one little tiny like surprise gotcha like towards the end, you should have seen it coming from the beginning. Like they set up one character as a red herring to be a certain person, but then the whole time I'm thinking, well, no, this person's who they're actually talking about, who's going to be that person. I'm trying to be very vague, but I mean, there's no point. I might as well spoil it because it's not even a spoiler. It's so fucking obvious where this movie's going. And it's so boring at times. I felt this movie dragged. It was 2 hours long. It's the longest in the series, I believe, and it felt it. And like this director, I guess, thinks that women smiling and giggling is scary because they do it like throughout. There's like four or five different scenes where a woman is just like in the distance smiling or giggling, like the little girl on the tricycle and Dream Warriors and Dream Master, like, ooh, that's so creepy, girl smiling, like, and then like there's numerous occasions where like you get to jump scares where a character sneaks up on someone, puts their hand on their shoulder, and they jolt, and the music gets loud. It's like, are we really still doing that in 2024? I mean, that shit got old in the 80s, in the 90s especially, and we're still doing it. Just because your movie is set in the 70s doesn't mean you gotta do the same scares that they were doing in the 70s. Get creative. There is nothing scary about this movie, and they have the balls to say on one of the posters, the most horrifying movie of the year. Bullshit, and the year's not even over. So it's a little too soon to be claiming that you're the scariest movie this year when you did nothing. You did nothing that was scary. And what's up with the spider? There's like a CGI spider that kept crawling on her face. I'm like, what's with the spider? That's like the version of that's like this movie's version of the Rottweiler or something. I don't get it. And the score was all right, a little too loud at times, and it's kind of like Goldsmith's score a little bit. His was like a more like male choir, which they use at the end of this movie as an homage, but throughout it's like a woman like screaming. Like it's like the sound of a woman like howling and oohing, going ooh, like literally, like that's how it sounded like the whole time. I was like, what is with this? And there's one sequence that went on for so long that it went from being like scary, quote unquote, or creepy to comical, where I was like, what are we watching? This is ridiculous. It was almost as if the director like was just in her chair eating a cheeseburger and left the camera rolling, and then eventually remembered where she was. She was like, oh shit, oh cut, and they just left the whole fucking take in. And I'm like, this. I'm sure if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's a sequence that goes on for like two whole minutes. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is now funny. It shouldn't be funny. I mean, that's how I thought. I thought it was funny. So maybe other people will think that whole sequence just got under their skin. But I'm just like, this is getting pretty funny. This is not supposed to be funny, but it is. And there's just dumb shit. Like there's so many tropes, so many predictable stuff, and like the car scene, without saying too much, both of them, like you knew it was gonna happen because the way it was shot, like it's just all so like predictable and set up. Like there was just not much about this movie that shocked me or surprised me or made me go, "Wow, okay, yeah, I'm on board." I was just mostly bored, but I can't deny that it wasn't like well acted. Like you got some pretty good actors in here. One who's hard to understand at times. That's another thing. It was kind of hard to follow the story at times because I'm like, what are they even saying? Um, the one guy from The Witch or the VV he's hard to understand sometimes. He requires subtitles, and he's supposed to be the guy in The Omen, Father Brennan, who gets the pole through him, and but yeah, like good performances and some cool shots here and there can't save a movie for me. Like I have to be invested in the story, or you gotta just very like you gotta wow me with the visuals or something like the kills and but it was just the same kills slightly tweaked. One new one wasn't all that great, and then just a story that you knew where it was going because it's a prequel, and that's the problem with prequels. All of them, like you just like, all right, I've seen the first one. I know how this movie's gonna end. I know who's gonna live. I know who's gonna die, and I know like, this character's gonna die in part one. So you're just already like not as invested when you go into a prequel, or at least for me. So yeah, it's just another prequel, sadly, that just falls into that category of being too predictable and but also weirdly just kind of fucks up some details, like I said, with the jackal. Unless I'm missing something, let me know. But it's like that doesn't add up to the first one, like in the way it ends. I'm like, okay, like that doesn't add up. And like there's like she gives birth. I'll just say this because I have a question. She gives birth to not only Damien, but there's also a girl, and they never like give her a name when they flash forward, and I'm wondering, like, is that supposed to be the girl from part four? Because timeline wise, that doesn't make sense. Because I'm pretty sure part four, it came out in the 90s and it was set in the 90s, and that little girl who's, the Antichrist in part four is like 10. And this movie is 1971 and then 1976. So that doesn't add up. So I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. If it's supposed to tie to part four, I thought that's what they were trying to do, but it doesn't make sense. So yeah, who the hell's the little girl? But whatever. But yeah, I don't want to go on and on about this movie. I was not a fan. The highest I can go with a rating is 2.5 out of 5. It was okay. The filmmaking was okay. There was a couple of good shots in the performances, especially from the lead actress here, Nell Tiger Free, whatever her name is. Um, and the guy from The Witch. There's some good performances here, but that just didn't save it for me. I was just really underwhelmed with this one. Hopefully, this is the first and last franchise stinker of the year. I'm hoping that the new Alien movie will be great and that the new Saw movie, if it does come out, I'm having doubts that will happen. They said it's coming out in September, but there's no news of it shooting. We only know who's writing it, who's starring in it, what the fuck the story is. So I'm having doubts that that's even coming out. But yeah, the new Terrifier, and yeah, like I hope that those don't disappoint me like this movie did. So yeah, First Omen, disappointment, not scary. If you're gonna go see it, lower your expectations. See it on cheap night, whatever you can do to not spend too much money on it. It's not worth it. So there you go, First Omen, and now let's get into the ranking. So number 6 in my Omen ranking is The Omen 4. And I'm not going to talk much about these movies because I'm already approaching 30 minutes. I don't want to make this video too long. And I did not rewatch these movies for this ranking like I should have and wrote notes down, but I just didn't. This is not a franchise that's very rewatchable to me. It's just not. It's not a very fun franchise. It's a very dark and very serious franchise. And they're all like the first three are kind of long movies, and now the new one is very long. It's not a series that I'm a big fan of. Although I do like a few of them. They're not very rewatchable. So I just didn't rewatch them for this ranking. I should have, but I didn't. So yeah, Omen 4. I've only seen this movie once. Watched it for the first time almost a year ago. This was a made-for-TV movie, and it feels made for TV. And the only thing I remember about this movie is that there was a guy who got killed by like a giant wrecking ball, which I thought was kind of funny. And that's it. That's all I remember. Yeah. This was directed by the guy who directed Halloween 5, so that should tell you everything you need to know about this movie in terms of if it's good or not, and what the quality would be. It's shit. Dominique Othenandrade. Number 5 is the Omen remake. The first one I saw, because I was about 11 when it came out. And yeah, I've probably seen this one the most. And after seeing the original, it ruined this one because I'm like, well, damn, the original is much better. But with that being said, I've said it in the past, I believe, and I still think that the kills in this movie, they're basically, rehashes of the first one. They recreate all the kills. I think they do them better. Unlike the first Omen that tried to do them again in a little different, but not better. I thought this movie took the kills from the original and actually tweaked it in a way where I was like, that's actually better. And with 2006 technology, they were able to do it better. Like the beheading, like that looks like they actually beheaded that guy. Like I remember that beheading when I was 11. That just freaked the fuck out of me, and that image always stuck with me. You watch the original, and it's just like, okay, yeah, that's clearly a dummy head spinning in the air. It looks fake, rubbery. But the remake, holy shit, the kills are done better. But that's it. Everything else is just like almost scene for scene, line for line. Like they basically just did the psycho treatment, with the remake of that, where they're like, all right, let's just remake the same exact movie, not really changed anything. We'll throw in like a therapy scene here and some dream sequences with the wife. I think that's all they added, really. But I think they had to give the original writer credit for this movie because that's how much they took from him. Even though he technically didn't write this movie, he still gets the credit because they just took everything from the original. So yeah, but still fine. Like I would still give this like a 2.5 out of 5. It's not a bad movie. It's just like, what's the point? It's almost identical to the original. So if you're gonna watch one, just watch the original. So that's why it's down here at number 5. Or is it 5? Yeah, it's 5. Number 4 is The First Omen. I've already said everything I need to say about this movie. Predictable. Nothing nothing surprising. Bad scares. Didn't like it. Number 3 is Damien, Omen 2. The first time was only a warning. I talked about this movie on my, what year was this? 1978 or 9? Whenever this came out, I think it was 78. I think it made my top 10. So you can hear my thoughts there on this movie. Um, I think I pointed it out there, and I'll say it again here. One thing I noticed, and wonder if anyone else did you notice that there seems to be like a reoccurring like theme of like the color red before every kill? Like there's just always something bright red before every kill on someone. Like they'll be holding something that's just unusually bright red, or they'll be wearing something red. Every victim, there's just something red in every scene. I don't know why I picked up on it, but I did. Go back and watch it again. I swear. The first woman who dies, she's holding that big red Bible, and it was a red train that killed the one guy, I think, or he was wearing something red. The doctor was wearing a red tie, and this person, like, just look for it. I swear. They had to do it on purpose. Um, the only thing I really didn't care for in this movie was, the whole journey with the new dad in this one of Damien. It just felt like it was regurgitating the whole story of part one with like he doesn't want to believe, but then eventually he believes, and then it kind of like ends the same way, and it just felt like you're watching the same movie again. But the kills were pretty good. The elevator sequence, that was awesome. The new Damien actor in this movie, he's a little bit more grown up in this one. He's like approaching his teenage years. He's like 12 or something in this, or 13. Um, I just didn't like the performance from that actor. I didn't like that casting. That was my only like major gripe was Damien in this one. I didn't like him. Number 2 is the final conflict, Omen 3, with Sam Neill, a much better Damien. Yeah, the only major downfall of this movie, and a lot of people agree, the people I've listened to, is the way it ends. It just felt a little too easy, a little too anticlimactic. It was just like a very quick, just like bam, it's over. It's like, wait, what? That's the big like battle at the end between good and evil. It's just like a simple like stab and that's it. Like I don't know. It's just a little went out with a whimper. But I thought Sam Neill was great in this, and I liked the kills in this one. There's like all this shit with like they're killing all these babies and shit. Like this movie kills babies. They're throwing like strollers into traffic. It was nuts. And I believe I talked about this movie in my 1981 ranking. I don't think it made my top 10, but it was one of my honorable mentions. I like this movie. I've only seen it twice. And the second movie I've only seen twice. Like I said, not a very rewatchable franchise. But yeah, seen it twice, and I give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good movie, just needed a better ending. And that franchise should have ended here. It's another franchise that says final, or it's the last one, but it's not. And of course, my number 1 is the original. If you watched my 1976 ranking, this was my number 1. I think this movie is great. The Jerry Goldsmith score it's phenomenal. I believe it won the Academy Award. And yeah, the acting, Gregory Peck, the kills in this are pretty good, but like I said, done a little better in the remake. But I think the hanging is actually I prefer this movie's version of the hanging because she like crashes through the window. It's pretty brutal, and yeah, it's an almost 2 hour movie, but it's not that slow. Uh, it can be a little slow for some. I can see that, but I just that's just I thought this movie was very well directed by Richard Donner, and it's just very creepy. It's just very ominous beginning to end. Just I think it has to do a lot with the score by Jerry Goldsmith. The score can really help. It can make or break any horror movie. Like you take the theme away from Jaws, you take the theme away from Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. It's automatically like half of a good movie. Like it's half as good. Like a strong theme and score can really help improve a movie. And I think this is another example of that. It's a great movie on its own, but the score from Goldsmith just really elevates it. And yeah, it's just a great movie. I like Richard Jennings, that character in this movie, played by the late great David something. I forget his name now. But yeah, he was great in this, and it's a great fucking movie. That's all I can say about it. It's a great movie. You've all seen it. I'm sure. If you haven't, get on it. It's the best in the series. I'm sure a lot of you agree and weren't shocked by that. But yeah, I was I was really let down with the First Omen. I was expecting the First Omen to be like my number 2 or 3 at the most. Like I thought this was going to be a really good movie. Like the marketing for the First Omen was way better than the movie itself. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where the trailer makes you think it looks like a better movie than it actually is. It's unfortunate, but what are your thoughts? What do you guys think about the Omen franchise? What do you think about the new movie? Where is it in your ranking? Do you think it was better than me? Am I crazy for thinking it's mediocre at best? Let me know in the comments below. I mean, yeah, I thought the same thing about Lisa Frankenstein, and I still keep seeing everyone praise that movie. Like that movie has a ridiculous high rating on Letterboxd, and I just thought it was very blah. Um, but yeah, same thing with like the First Omen. I think what's the rating on it? I can't see. 3.4. So there's a lot of 4 out of 5s for this movie right now. But that's only 4.2 thousand watches. So we'll see what that rating is in the future. But man, I was not a fan. So, but yeah. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And I don't know what my next video will be, when it will be. Maybe a month from now when another movie comes out. Or, no, Abigail. I'll be seeing Abigail, I'm sure. So maybe I'll do another video when that comes out. Or, yeah. I saw Imaginary, by the way. I didn't feel like talking about it in this movie because it fucking sucked. I didn't feel like talking about that movie. What did I say? I feel like I said I didn't feel like talking about that movie in this movie. Did I say that? I sometimes do that. I meant to say, if I did say, because I already forgot what I said. Jesus Christ. I didn't want to talk about that movie in this episode. That's what I wanted to say. If I said that, and I'm saying it again, it's because I'm crazy. But I swear to God, I did not say that. So I'm trying to correct myself. But maybe I'm not correcting myself. Maybe I should just end this video before I look even more stupid. But I swear to God, I said something else. I didn't want to talk about that movie because it fucking blows. There you go. End the video. All right. See you later.